Hi, this video is a demonstration of how to install case fans on your Corsair iCUE 5000X RGB Mid-Tower PC case. That's a mouthful. And in specific, in the location of the rear intake for the CPU and motherboard, which is here. So as you can see, I've already got these installed. So I wanted to demonstrate to you how to remove this, because trying to install it with this plate in place is nigh impossible. I mean, I suppose somebody who's got a helper to do it and all kinds of talent with their fingers could probably install it without removing this plate, but I would definitely say don't do it. It's not easy, and getting these fans placed exactly right is a little bit of a challenge because they use these slots, which provides for some variance in the positioning of the holes on the fan. So what you're going to do first, if you want to remove this, is you're going to remove 6 screws like this. There's 1, 2, 3, and then here behind the belt that holds the cables in place, which is why it's such a mess right now, there's one right there, and then there's another one right there. There you go. And there's another one right there. So you're going to want to remove all of those those screws, which shouldn't be too difficult because these are fairly short bolts, really, not screws. I always think of screws as being something with a sharp end and bolts as with a dull end, so forgive me if that is not correct nomenclature. Okay, so now again, you want to be careful about placing this, because otherwise if you have it too far to the side because of these slots, you may end up with the end of the fan being behind this plate, which will decrease the amount of airflow that you're going to get. Same thing on this side. So it's very important to place them correctly before you tighten all of the screws. What I initially thought about doing was doing it from this side. But what I realized with this was, aside from maybe running the cable through the holes, because you've got cable here for the fan cable and also one here. This one doesn't need one because that space is empty. But aside from running the cable through that hole, it's really better to do it from here. And that allows you, if you have it on your lap like I do right now, to provide some support to the fan. But you're probably going to either want something that fills up the space here to hold it in place, like maybe a thin board or any kind of board that will support the width of these fans. And then that would actually make it easier than doing it on your lap like I did. But you can do it that way if you want to follow my example. And then you're going to want to look at the fan. Now, these are Corsair's fans. I got them because they're magnetic levitation. And on these fans, they have an indicator, which I just wanted to show you as an example. Almost all fans are going to have arrows that indicate the direction of airflow and the direction that the blades spin, which you can see right there. They're very small on this fan, which is kind of irritating. They certainly could have made it so that it was easier to see, but you can see that. So if these are going to be intake fans, so I want to make sure that the fans are facing in the opposite direction that I currently have them mounted. But if this was for exhaust, then this would be perfect. This would be exactly the way you want it. Now, these fans happen to have 2 labels on them, that one and that one. And the general rule of thumb is when you're looking at fans, that wherever you see this label, not the just plain Jane label, but this label that has the technical information like the model number and volts and stuff like that, is going to be the side where the air is flowing out. You can also see these protective bars here that kind of keep things from getting stuck in there, at least on a very large scale level. I can't get my fist into there. I could get my finger into there, but it isn't on the opposite side. So that also indicates that this is the side where for exhaust, for the air going out, and this is the side for the air going in. And so you want to mount it correctly on this. So you're going to turn these over, okay? Now on other brands like my Noctua fans, the opposite is true. Well, not the opposite, I'm sorry. It has the same kind of arrows, although they're a bit bigger, but they only have one label. They only have this kind of label. They don't have a label on the other side. So again, the same rule will hold true. Let me see if I can show you one of those, just so you can see. Not there. All my fans are Corsair and Noctua. So I'm kind of experimenting to see better and worse. I've got different kinds. So as you can see, this is the intake side. It doesn't have a label on it. And so the exhaust side has the Noctua label on it. So that's just something to help you if you don't see any arrows. You're going to look for this, the support bars and the label as being the exhaust side, or the output side, if you want to put it that way. Input and output. So once you get these all mounted appropriately and lined up correctly, you can. I would suggest starting on one side that you've got perfectly lined up, and you tighten up the 4 screws. So you're going to have the 4 screws, and it's going to slide around. But once you tighten it up, it's going to not slide anymore. And that allows you to push this one against that one while you're tightening up these screws. Once you get 1 screw or maybe 2 screws tightened up on each fan, it'll stop moving around. And then once you get over to this one, it'll be, again, push it that way and tighten it up. Now, when you're adjusting the positioning, you're going to, again, want to make sure that both fans are not being occluded by the cutout. And that's the important thing. And then in order to be able to reinstall this into the computer, it's really very simple. And honestly, installing fans anywhere on this computer is fairly simple. But I think in the respect that you can remove this plate makes it the easiest. But the removal and installation of the plate is a little bit of a pain. However, it does reduce the headache of mounting something that's still inside of the case. And if you get a little bit nervous about doing that while you're working on a computer, this can relieve some stress. So once you got it, you're going to go ahead and just align these tabs with their holes and put that in there like that. And then you just get your screws or bolts, whatever they are, and make sure you have a magnetic screwdriver, and then you're just going to put that back in there, and you're good to go. Now again, these are currently mounted in the opposite direction that they should be, but for demonstration purposes, this is fine. I suppose, honestly, if you wanted to have this as being exhaust, you could, but I don't recommend it, and here's the reason why. This side of the case for this opening has this mesh system here to help and reduce the amount of dust that's going to come into the fan. Now, it's not as good as the front side, because the front side has this mesh, which is much finer and is going to do a much better job of filtering out the dust. And in fact, I've been using this since, I guess, late October, and I've had to clean dust off of here twice already. And I've got a cat, so that's pretty good considering it's now early January. And so if you look at this, you can see that the holes on this are much, much larger than on that one. And that means that this is not going to do as good of a job. However, for output, it's also not going to be a good idea. Why is it not going to be a good idea? Because the fineness of these holes, as big as they are, is still fine enough. that's going to decrease the output rate, or for that matter, the input rate for these fans that are positioned there. So, yeah, not ideal in either case, but most certainly not ideal for output. So recommendation is output here in the back where I've got my 120 millimeter Noctua fan, or on the top where I've got, you can either put 120s or 140s up here, and you can put 120s or 140s over here. As you can see, I've got two 140s, and I actually managed to finagle it so that with some adjusting, I could get 120 millimeter in the middle here with these two 140s. Now these are high-speed 140s to make sure that I'm getting a lot of fresh air coming in here. That was the recommendation from Noctua. It also, they felt, would reduce the volume of the noise from these two fans when they're running at full speed. I have these two plugged into separate ports on the controller back here. So, oh, that's another thing I should probably bring up for you. When you are installing a fan, if you have just a regular PWM fan or a 4-pin fan, you're going to just plug them into here. This is the controller for the fan speed itself. And this can take 3 or 4-pin. You just follow the, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. But there are these like raised things on the plug that are going to force you to put it only in one position. And that way, even if you have a 3-pin, it's still going to sit in the correct position. It's just that the fans will run full speed with a 3-position pin setup rather than a variable speed based on the controls that you can let the hardware take care of, or you can get software. I mean, iCUE software isn't very good. I don't personally recommend it. I took a look at it and I'm like, well, this is kind of useless. And there are other software options out there for free that do way more than what iCUE does, and are easier to understand. But I'm not going to give any recommendations at this time because I have to do the research first. So you plug them into here, and you have two options when it comes to using these controllers. Option number one is you get an additional controller called their command controller, and I believe you can use it. You can mount it right here with double tape, or you can do what I'm doing, which is to use a Y splitter cable. So I've got a Y splitter cable for these two fans, the fan in the back and one of the fans on the top, or actually I think that's the one on the front. These two are the fans on the top. I'm one fan short because I managed to put this fan in here. So I'm going to need to pick up another fan eventually, and I'll probably get a third brand to test that one out. So you have your choices. Get the command controller or some other from Corsair or from some other company, or you can use Y splitters. Now keep in mind that the controller here is not going to recognize that there are two fans hooked up to that port. So those two fans will run in synchrony at the exact same speeds. And the same holds true with, on this side, you could get a splitter cable, or you could get the command controller here. And if you have the splitter cable again, this is for lights. So if you have like these two here and this fan here, these are RGB fans that came with the case. I don't really care about them, but they're there, and they came with the case, so that's great. But this is where you plug in the other cable. Now, the connector for this cable looks different from the connector that I just showed you. So let me just show you that. You can see there's a little clip release there for it. I don't know if you can see that very well. Okay, so you're gonna just slide that in there. And it's kind of hard for me to see because everything's black. That's one of the bad things about this. The black color just is, yeah, kind of annoying especially on a white case. But you know, whatever. I don't really care about that. I just find it difficult. Hold on. All right, I got that. Okay, so now do keep in mind that with these controllers, they do not work unless you do two things. One, you plug the fans into them, and two, you plug the cable coming off of them into a SATA cable, which goes to your power supply. So make sure you've got a SATA cable so you can plug it in to your power supply, or they're not going to work at all, and then your computer is going to overheat. This computer case supports a total of 6 fans on each of the PWM and the RGB controllers. So again, you can look into the options of either splitter cables, or you can look into getting a command controller. And then, like I said, I'm not happy with the iCUE software. I think it's kind of lame. But you can use that for starters if you want to, until you find something better, or until I've done my research and come up with a video to explain which one's probably going to be the best and why, depending on what your purpose is. But just make sure they're firmly seated there. I wanted to point out that when you're installing fans, there are typically 2 options for installing a fan. And the common one that's been around forever, of course, is the bolts. As you can see, we've got these 4 bolts here, and they look like this. They're kind of a thicker shaft and a larger head because they have to prevent from going through the slot or hole. And then the other option would be a silicon mounter. Noctua provided this with my 120 millimeter fan that I bought for the back end. So these actually go through the holes of the fan. Let me see if I can show you that. They actually go through the holes of the fan, and then there is a kind of a fatter area where it gets caught on the hole on this side, sorry. And then they stick out this way. And as you can see, this actually will move, but this is a vibration dampening system. So if you are concerned about vibrations from fans, say you've got some ridiculously fast fan that makes my 300,000 RPM Noctuas look like snails in comparison, and you're concerned about vibrations going through the case and making noise or whatever, these are going to be a better option than the screws. But, if you're trying to be very precise about your mounting, these are not going to stay in place. I mean, I'm just tapping on these and they're moving, as you can see. I'm not even using much force at all. So they will not stay in position in slots. So they're going to automatically be at the bottom. So if you need very precise positioning in a freestanding way, as opposed to these abutting each other, then you're not going to want to use something like this. Either you need a case that has holes instead of slots, or you need to use the bolts. So for the case, this is the only fan where you cannot remove the mounting surface. Well, technically, yeah, you can't. And this one, sorry. The top surface is not removable for mounting the fans, and the back surface is not removable for mounting the fans. So it's very simple. You're just going to hold it in place and use the mount, these silicone mounts, or you can use the screws and get them in there. Now, one of the nice things about Noctua is they come with these vibration dampening silicone corner pieces, and at least with the 120s that I got, they also come with this alternative that you can take off the corners on the side that is going to be against the case, and you can put this wraparound piece all the way around to further reduce any vibrations. And also to improve suction. This was recommended in the instructions for you with a water system, an all-in-one or a custom one, to give you better suction. But otherwise, it's going to look just like that. And these do not come with that additional silicone frame. You can buy them separately. The Corsairs, on the other hand, don't come with anything like that. So again, you have a permanent mounting surface here, and for the top ones, you have a permanent mounting surface here behind this glass. You may find that you have to remove this glass to increase the airflow or the output airflow enough if you're having problems with heat. However, on the front, you can also remove the mounting panel with 1, 2, 3, and somewhere around here, I believe, is the 4th one. Of course, you have to access that through the back panel, but it's the same process as what I've already shown you. So it's pretty simple. And I found that when I installed these fans here, I didn't need to remove this one. It just wasn't important. It wasn't a factor. But with the one on the back side that I just showed you, that was definitely an easier way to do it. So easy, I wouldn't recommend trying otherwise. So that's all I have for you today. I already cleaned up my cables in the back as much as I wanted them to be cleaned up. Now, I know somebody's saying, Glenn, why do you have this cable running across here? Because frankly, I don't care. But if you want to, usually the Noctuas at least come with a bunch of extra stuff, including an extension cable like this. Now, the Corsairs don't come with anything extra at all. So I actually had to buy additional Y splitters. I've got ones like this, except for this part here is white. And they do come in other colors for their Chromax series. So if you want to match your Chromax fans with your Chromax Y splitters, you can do that. But again, these come attached already. There are these things that are in the kit. You also get the Y splitters, and you get the LNA or low noise adapter, which reduces the RPMs in order to reduce the noise. And you get the Y splitter, and you get, of course, the bolts to attach it to the frame. And in the case of this one, you get these things as well, but not with these. These are pretty much as is. What you see is what you get, and you have to, if you need this kind of a silicone all around frame for this one, you can buy it separately. You can buy extension cables and Y splitters and everything separately. It's just this is a no frills product as far as what's in the box, since it's for more of an industrial use than a consumer use. And if you have any questions, if there's anything I forgot to mention and you're curious about it, please let me know. I'm not really sure what the model number is on these. These are the stock ones that come with the case. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.